she was so quiet. She was basically voted the quietest girl in her class. She was reserved, didn't speak her voice, and then she found her voice and her visibility. I'm going live with our newest episode of Awful Okay Awesome with our guest Denise Ann Galloni, and I cannot forget to mention our sponsor, Black Oswald Coffee Company, who is the most delicious coffee company. And not just that, but every sip you take, you are benefiting those experiencing mental health issues, as proceeds go to nonprofits helping those with mental health issues. So, Denise, we're just going to get right into it. Do you want to just tell everybody who you are and your story? Share your story.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Maureen. I'm really excited to be here today. So who I am right now. Let's start with right now, then we'll go back. So right now, I own my own training consulting company since 2014. So just hit the 10-year mark last year. Yeah. I do leadership and communication consulting for executives, CEOs, and really anyone that needs in leadership that needs that assistance. I have a TV show, actually 2 TV shows on local public access TV. My whole goal is to empower people. I have a few books out. My show's called Empowering You because that's what I want to do. So I think what people find surprising is when I get in front of people and I'm a public speaker, I get paid to speak in front of people professionally, conferences, I do workshops, and people are surprised when I say I was voted the most quietest girl in my senior class. Wow. People that know me think, no, I don't think that's possible. I've even had, sometimes I carry with me the picture that says most quietest girl in my senior class. The amazing thing is my senior class was very small. I had 80 people in my senior class. Now we did merge into a larger class because we merged schools my senior year, but 80 people throughout freshman to sophomore, junior year, 80 people. When I say I was invisible, I never said a word. There's actually a candid shot in the yearbook saying, Denise never had anything to say.
Wow.
I went back to my 15-year reunion, and the captain of the football team walked by. And, all the girls, the captain of the football team, that's like a big deal. And he started talking to me. I was like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe he's talking to me. And he asked who I was there with. I said, I'm here with my husband. He's like, oh, I can't wait to catch up with him. He didn't realize that he went to school with me and not my husband.
Oh, wow.
He was not even from the area. Like, there's no way he could even. So that's how invisible I was.
Wow. Oh, see, I can relate to that with you because they would make fun of me and call me the Rock at a certain point I think I was probably in 10th grade. I'd go to social events and they'd be like, Marta the Rock, you don't say anything. You don't talk. I'd go to, let's say, summer camps and somebody would take me aside and go, you look upset all the time and you don't say anything. You should smile a little bit, and talk. And then, cut to decades later, I think it was my kids that opened me up. I'm blunt, I'm to the point. I'll talk to anybody. I'm live on social media. What do you think for you it was the change? I really don't know what it was for me. I think I just couldn't care anymore. What about you?
Well, I think what caused a lot of it was I lived in a very affluent area. We were not. We struggled a lot. So a lot of times I wore hand-me-downs from people that worked with my mother. They'd say, oh, we have these clothes from our daughter, these nice expensive clothes that she'd bring home for us. So I think I felt self-conscious about that. So I just kept to myself. What changed was when I graduated high school and started working right away. I wanted to go to college, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I thought, well, I'll work for a while and go to school at night. When I started working, the first year or two, I realized how being quiet wasn't a benefit. I was passed over for promotions. I had a lot to say. I knew what I was talking about. I was a very intelligent person, but people didn't think that because I just kept my mouth shut. So after a couple of years, I think I really started coming out of my shell more. Because in high school, it was just such a change from where I was to when I started working out in the real world. You didn't have those cliques. You didn't have the most popular girl and the other girls. So I think that's what changed. That forced me to come out of my shell because I knew I'm just going to be left behind my whole life.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's really interesting because I personally really don't know. I mean, even my husband's parents, because my husband and I have been together since I was 15,
mhm.
I wouldn't talk. I would feel so much social anxiety even standing in front of them. And if even uttered a word, I would ruminate in my head about what I said. And
Right.
um, sometimes that still happens for me. Does that still happen for you ever?
Not much. I say with age, you don't think about that more.
Okay.
You older you get, like, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. Um, but really, I think that's what it was. I think when I started seeing how I was just getting pushed in the background, I started getting out more, opening up more. When I did go to that high school reunion, maybe 10, 15 years ago, uh, not the first one, the subsequent one after that, people couldn't believe when they asked me what I did. I said, well, I'm a professional speaker. I have a
Ah,
TV show. They're like, what are you? What? So
I love that.
it's kind of funny to see people I went to school with look at me and say, I just can't believe this is still you. I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it's me either, but it is.
Yeah. I just want to go ahead and I have a couple more questions for you, but I
Sure.
just want to give another shout out to Black Oswald Coffee Co. It's the bold taste that helps those in the mental health journeys. And well, the first question that pops to mind for me is, what does that feel like whenever they say, I can't believe that that's what you do?
Kind of mixed emotions.
Hmm.
Because I think I've always had this inside me.
Mhm.
No one just cared because I was just in the background. And so there's that feeling. There's also a feeling like, yeah, what are you doing now? You're the most popular girl in school. What are you doing now? So it is kind of
Mm.
that mixed emotions, mixed bag there. But it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good about myself. I
Yeah.
feel very confident. I focus on empowering people now. I say find my voice, and that was my first book that I read. Find your voice, 5 ways to lead and empower others. And I use voice as an acronym. So it's really important to me to help people get through this and not have to face what I faced. Now, I was in school a long time ago. I can't
Mhm.
imagine now because it'd be so much harder now with social media and everything else.
Mhm.
When I was in school, when you were done with school, you were done. You didn't see anybody else till the next day when you went to school. I can't imagine
Mhm.
being that way now and being so quiet, and people on social media and not being part of that and community, and that would be very difficult.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's so interesting and it's so refreshing to hear you talk about this because sometimes I go back there myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, where I'm thinking about those times and that monkey brain goes, what are you thinking about this for? That was literally decades and decades and decades ago. Like, can you just get over it? But it's not about getting over it. It's about, sharing our story with it. And for me, it's a little bit more than that because I now am able to recognize that I had such social anxiety
Mhm.
and some therapists have told me I have ADHD. Some therapists have told me, no, you're just, an unconscious competent, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. But
Right.
uh, needless to say, Denise, you and I were just talking about this before we went live. I have that need
Hmm.
for constant stimulation. It just drives me. I'm able to turn it off and rest when I want to turn it off and rest. And I feel that maybe that boredom combined with that social anxiety, I was written off as kind of like the loser, right, and the failure, and
Thing, right.
teachers. And so I self-medicated. I got into alcohol and drugs to self-medicate that feeling, to help me overcome these social situations. And then the more I did that, the more adults wrote me off as a problem child, told other parents to stay away from me, told their kids to stay away from me.
Hmm.
So now, for me, I think it feels amazing for those who do get to see online and maybe they have a positive reaction to what I'm doing. I think
Right.
that feels good. And possibly the amount of drive that I have subconsciously is probably to prove to myself that I'm more than, a dumb kid who's failing history class and is a loser and isn't going anywhere. In fact, I was basically told by guidance counselors I wasn't going anywhere. And then on top of it, to have my first child when I was in college, that kind of perpetuated that truth to other people, like, oh, there she is, you
Yeah.
know? So that feels amazing for me. So how do you feel that you use that experience to help your clients? I mean, you help executives with communication, and so
Right.
I would imagine that some of them maybe have issues of
Absolutely.
feeling insecure of being vocal. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So one thing I do is I tell my story, and I tell them I'm no one special. If I can do it, anyone could do it, because I just did it myself. It took years. This didn't happen overnight. It took years of pushing myself out there, pushing myself out there. And I want to tell anyone that's listening, I still struggle with some of that, as probably you do more at times, struggle with some of that. If I'm going to talk to someone that I think is, I don't want to say better me, it's not the right word. More, I can't think of the word I want to use. Not better than me, but that I think
Well,
that
I would venture to say that comparisonitis kicks in, is what you mean.
Thank you. That's what I'm comparing.
Yeah.
Well, this person's up here. I'm not quite there yet.
Right.
So I still think, oh, wow, their business is this, and I'm just this little small person. Or they have this show that, it's on this, and I just have this little public act. So I try like downplay. I just have this little public access TV show. Like, why would anybody want to do
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, right. And even when I wrote my book, it took me years to put this book together. It's not a long book, but I thought, who am I to write a book? Like, what do I have to say to someone that would read the book? So I still slip into that. So that's why I really try hard when I get those feelings, just to push them out of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a light switch. You can't have a positive and negative at the same time. It's either positive or negative. Light's either on or off. Mm-hmm. So I just try to be positive, push myself through it, and help anybody that I can. I always help people, try to give them advice. On my show, Empowering You, I bring people and tell their stories, because I'm not the only one who has an amazing story. There are people out there that I listen to their stories. I think, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much you've accomplished. So I really try to help people do that and showcase that, and help people that are watching that may have questions.
See, I have the opposite problem, where I'll pitch myself for these big things, and the people who are in charge of, let's say, a convention, event show, they're like, yeah, you're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, all right, well, I will get there. It'll feel amazing when I get there, right?
Yeah, I feel like I need validation sometimes, even though I don't need it. Because I've spoken to so many groups, and I still feel like sometimes I walk in that stage, and then once I start getting that, but you still have that.
Yeah. So you're going to be sharing this story, or you've already shared it, because we're in the final draft, actually, of our book coming up. It's an anthology called Course Corrected. And we've got 15 women in the book. And
amazing.
We actually had so many women that we've earmarked a couple of them for future anthology. So that's going to be amazing. But so that whole book is about stories of trials and tribulation, or hardships that actually were your destined path, not a pivot into who you're meant to be and who you're meant to help. And so I would venture to say that with you having such a struggle being quiet, that you can really relate to those who need your help, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my story in the anthology, I'm so honored to be in the anthology with all these wonderful women, is a little bit different. I do talk about how my business was in a low. My business was in a low. Anyone that's an entrepreneur or think about an entrepreneur, it's not always highs. You have highs, and the highs are great, but the lows are low. I mean, when you get to
they are low. I mean, you really make it about yourself as an entrepreneur, and how it means so many things. It really doesn't.
You're juggling. Okay, if I pay this one, then I'll have to pay that. They're low because you can't count that salary every 2 weeks.
Right.
So I just signed up with a coach, and I was so excited, and I felt like I was working this coach, and my business was going to take off. I was at that point. It was like, this is it. I remember sitting there New Year's Eve a few years ago, and I was having dinner with my family. I thought, it's going to be the best year of my professional life. A couple of days later than that, my sister called me and said, there's something wrong with our mother. Turns out she was diagnosed with dementia. So the next year and a half, we struggled with that. I had to put everything on hold. When you struggle with anything like that with your family, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. I had to cancel my clients. I stopped speaking for probably 2 years. I just put everything on hold. It wasn't until recently I started, okay, now it's time to get it back up again. So I can really relate to the trials, because I never thought, I was in such a high, like, this could be the greatest year. And within 72 hours, the bottom fell out. And my life changed so much from that. And that's what my chapter is about, how I pulled through that. How did I think I would pull through that? When I thought this is just the worst thing could ever happen to me, things just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. I would venture to say that my chapter is similar to yours. I do talk about how my mother passed, and I don't know that I mention it much in my chapter because I do try to respect his privacy, but simultaneously, as my mother passed, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Mm.
Or I think, talk about it, so I can completely relate to that from having business in the revenue that I had never even dreamed of to having that experience with your family, you're like, none of this stuff matters.
Doesn't
None
matter.
of it. None of it matters.
Yeah.
And God provides.
Right.
God provides in his most loving, mysterious ways, and I love it. And he has such a some sense of humor sometimes, don't you think?
I think so. And people would call me, they want to go out, go to this networking thing. I have to say, I can't do it. I can't do it. I just have too much other things going on.
Yeah, that are more important.
Yeah.
I've had moments like that where I've been asked to be on boards, and I would say, that just requires too much responsibility, and they would suggest, well, can't somebody on your team take on some other things so that you can be at these things? And I
Yeah.
don't, I don't, I don't want to be at these things.
I didn't want to. People say, well, why don't you want to do this? I don't want to. I'm so tired. You don't understand the effort it takes just to get up and take a shower. It's just,
Hmm.
I don't have anything left in me.
Yeah. Do you think that affected your health at all? And
I'm sorry?
do you think it affected your health in other ways too?
Oh, absolutely. It still does. Still does. Just because those 2 years, and I have other family things that I don't want to get into that went on at the
Yeah.
same time, but it did affect my health. I was always in perfect health, and it started affecting my health. I put on so much weight. When I
Mhm.
talk weight, I mean probably 40 pounds in 2 years, maybe, just because
Wow.
of everything was going on.
Yeah.
So it did.
Yeah. No, I can totally relate to that where you're just going through this time and you're like, I think my entire life right now is trauma dumping. And so how do you, I mean, it's like this is going on and this is going on and this is going on. And I do remember vividly even meeting with somebody who was asking for a position at my media company. And we were dwindling down on clients at the time. And I just ended up, she was just such an open and loving person. I
Mhm.
love her so much. But I look back and I'm like, I totally trauma dumped on that person the first time we met. And she was just she was just there for a job interview, and God bless her soul. We're still in touch, but she probably thinks I'm a crazy person. And
It's
it's all
hard.
good because I am. Let's be honest, I am. And then that's what makes us, that brings up another question for you, Denise, because um, I find that those of us who thrive in the business space and the online space, when it comes to the real world or IRL, as the kids would say, but probably in a different format that I'm not saying correctly, um, it's we feel out of place, right? And now, do you feel like now that you've accomplished the things that you've accomplished, it made sense of why you felt so out of place? Because you were meant to stand out,
I think so.
and maybe you
I look
just
back at
didn't
things and I
feel brave
think
enough.
things happen for a reason. Things really
Yeah.
happen for a reason. With my mother being diagnosed, I was on a fast pace. I was going, going, going. I was going because my goal was my business. I wanted to get up to here. So I
Mhm.
remember I would every Sunday night I'd say, okay, this is what I need to go for the week. Monday I'm doing this. Tuesday I'm doing this. It was just go, 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 go. I didn't really see my family because I was pushing myself so hard. But if she would have been
Mhm.
diagnosed and I spent 24/7 with her all those months, because I had to live with her, I would have missed that time. I wouldn't have had
Yeah,
that.
what a blessing. What a blessing.
Yeah. And I look back and now
Yeah.
I think it was so hard. But I would have missed that.
Yeah.
I would have missed that.
Yeah.
If something my father died when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I read that in another chapter that you read in my other,
That's how you and I connected. Yeah, I read the book and I reached out to you. Yeah.
and it was just like that. He was gone. So I thought if that would have happened to my mother, I would have missed all that time when I was there taking care of her and had so many regrets. And I don't have any regrets.
Yeah, what a
I think,
blessing.
yeah, it was a blessing that I was able to do that. My family was very helpful. I had a full-time job at the time. They were very helpful. They like, do what you need to do, take care of you. And I got through it.
Hmm.
And I think it makes you stronger. It makes us stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that help really is astronomically helpful, for lack of a better word, because so many of us, I think we go through it, but we're afraid to ask for help. So I'm glad that you had that help,
Yeah. And I have
right?
people call and say, what do you need? What do you need? I'm like, I don't know what I
You
need.
don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah. You're like, well, why don't let's go out to dinner. You need to get out. I'm like, I can't get out. I'd have to have someone come over and sit with my mother and I got to go home and take a shower. And guess what? No, none of my clothes fit now because I put so much weight on because we're trying to get her to eat all the time. So we ate junk constantly. It's all she would eat. So I said, I just can't just go out and have dinner.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you're through it
Yeah.
and that you're getting back out there. And so, you attribute your shift in confidence to to certain things. And so you share that story with your clients. You say, "This is my story. I'm nobody, in your words, I'm nobody special, but you
Very
are."
special.
And what other tidbits from your life and experience do you share with those that are just like deathly afraid to speak their mind, deathly afraid to be visible? What are some tricks and tips that you share with them when you work with
So
them?
the funny thing is, Marta, and I've been on so many stages in front of people, large groups, small groups. There
Amazing.
was one time when it was an absolute failure. And there was a lot of things that led up to it. So I wasn't hopeful anyway when I went to do this. It was so bad. People were walking out. I was at a national conference presenting. And I was up on that stage thinking, oh my gosh. And I started getting really hard. I thought, I'm going to pass out. I'm just so nervous now. And this is going so bad.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, I hope I do. That way it will just be over. I mean, it was the worst thing ever in my life. It was in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'll never, ever forget it.
Wow.
But I share it with my clients that, and I've done 500, 600, 700, I don't know how many now. That's always in the back of my mind. That one failure is like, okay, don't get cocky.
Yeah, your brain will do that. Your brain will do that.
I mean, there's been times where I've had people like argue with me. There's just anything can happen. People ask questions you don't know the answer. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? I don't have the answer. I don't know everything. I may not be the smartest person in this room, and that's okay. That's okay because I don't want to be the smartest person in this room. I want to learn from other people as well. So I look at all these opportunities as learning. I tell people it's not the end of the world. What's the worst thing can happen to you?
Because you know that horrible thing happened, but you're still here. You're okay.
I'm still okay. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really bad when it happened, but I survived it. And now I can tell that story. And people laugh when I tell the story.
Yeah.
It happened. I survived.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so refreshing to hear you say that because years ago, I would venture to say, almost a decade ago, I was like, I want to be. It was in meditation, and it came through so clearly. I didn't know what speakers were. I didn't know they were a thing, and it was like, you need to be a public speaker, and you need to reach out to these people. And I've then been paid to speak and placed in front of audiences where I was not the right speaker because they were not going to be receptive to some 12-year-old looking, bubbly, sarcastic jokester. It was not their vibe. And so then I would have this reaction of, well, maybe I'm not supposed to speak. So it's such an important reminder that not every speaking engagement is going to be amazing. I mean, I think comedians talk about bombing. Jim Gaffigan has a bit about when he did a bit with the Pope and it totally bombed. And so it's always refreshing to hear those stories of like, okay, I'm okay. I mean, we put out shows every week with you, Denise, you do, and I do. Some of them do great, some of them bomb, and it's okay because you can't judge it by the day or even the week. Sometimes you want to judge it by the year and keep going, right?
Yeah. And the best advice I heard was from a professional speaker. He actually won some competitions in Toastmasters, the world's best speaker, all these things. And he said he gave a presentation one time. They paid him $4,000 for it, and he gave a $400 presentation. He felt it just happens. Sometimes you're just off your game. It just things happen, and things happen.
Right, we're people.
People. Things. You have bad days. There's been times that I suffer from migraines at times. There's been times I've been up there with a migraine so bad I can't even see the audience, but no one knows because no one cares.
They don't know. Everybody's in their own stuff.
They're in their own stuff. And I always tell the biggest tip I can tell people if you want to do this is don't be so focused on what you do wrong. Yeah. People aren't paying that close attention to like, oh my gosh, look at her. Do you see her stomach in that top? You see, like she struggled with that. People don't want to waste their time to see you fail. They want to encourage you. They want to learn from you. That's what they're focused on. And we all have so many things going on. So they're not spending 100% of their attention on you, especially if it's a long presentation. They're thinking about, oh, what's going on at work? I need to check my email. Oh, what about the kids? Oh, the kid was sick. What about the sick? They have so many things going on. They're focused on you, but it's not 100%. So don't be so hard on yourself. Anything that could probably happen, it's happened to me. I'm telling you, it's happened to me. I've survived. People still pay me. They still pay me to come up there and present at conferences and things. So don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah,
I have to say, you saying that it wasn't the right presentation for you. I've been there.
Yeah.
And people are looking at me and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is not the right
presentation. They're not picking up what I am putting down. They cannot wait for me to stop talking.
Right. And I tell people what works for me when I'm out there speaking, if you heard me speak, may not work for you.
Yeah.
Because we're all different people. Sometimes my tone may not work for you. Mm-hmm. I can say something, you can say something that has two completely different meanings. So do what you do, be yourself, be true to yourself. Don't try to copy.
Me being true to myself, what I typically do in those scenarios is I pick the most disinterested, pissed off looking person and I engage them in the presentation to completely disarm them in a good way and get them involved and engaged. And sometimes it backfires, sometimes it doesn't. But I like to just take the most uncomfortable situation, face it head on, and just rip off the Band-Aid. Which, again, like you said, Denise, might not work for everybody.
In fact, I was hired to do a presentation, and I was told they were, and I'm not going to say the organization or what it was, but I was told they were like 50, 60, some retired people in there. I walk in there with my presentation to do. The youngest person may have been 70. Mm-hmm. Completely different audience than I thought, because I always ask, what's the audience? So I'm up there talking, and I'm getting some. So who? And I ask a question, I get no hands up. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a really fun time.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
So they booked me for a half hour. I go out there. They said, well, we had some scheduling changes, which is fine. I can make it be a half hour. I can stretch it out a little bit. We gave you an hour.
I'm going to isolate you, okay? I don't want to catch you up guard. I'm going to isolate you so we can hear the story better, see the story better.
Okay. So I was supposed to speak for a half hour, so they paid me for it. They gave me an hour. I wasn't prepared for an hour at all. I had no interaction with the audience. It wasn't the audience I anticipated. I wasn't the right speaker for that audience. It happens. All I can do is get through it, have the same positive attitude, and do the best that you can. I've been hired for things. They said there's going to be 75 people there. There's 10.
Yeah.
I get this.
You know what though? Those 10, you can make a deeper connection with those. I mean, I've even hosted retreats where there was only 10 people. Usually I keep about 10. I feel like you can make such deeper of a connection.
Yeah. But so you just have to just go with it. Just go with it and say, oh, okay. I think I asked the question. So does anyone remember Wonder Woman? Because I was talking about like all these things they do, and not one hand went up. I was like, oh, come on now. Like, I know Wonder Woman. That was like, oh, no, come on now. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. No one ever saw. Then you kind of like joke around and try to get rough crowd.
Yes, yeah. And I've given presentations where people are like talking or they're leaving the room because they're distracted or they're handing things to one another. Yeah, and you're just like, I typically just pause and stop and go, I'll make a joke out of it, or, can I help you guys like pass those to each other? Can I get on this conversation? Yeah, just to have that captivating attention.
And you have people that walk out or check their phones, and again, you don't know what's going on in their lives.
Right.
They can have some emergency going on there. So I don't make a big deal about that, but I do if people are talking.
Right.
So what I'll do is if people are talking, I'll just go around and say, oh, I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was the question?
Yeah. I love that.
Like, oh, no, no question. We were just saying. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, this has been so good to have you, Denise. Thank you so much for your time and your patience today. We were having some tech issues before going live. Yeah, it's always honestly a part of it, to be honest with you. I can't wait to be on your show. And how can people find you? What's the best way that you like for them to find you and follow you?
So what they could do is they can go right to my website, DeniseAnnGalloni.com. Nice and easy. All my social media is there. They can find my shows on there. They could find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Same thing, Denise Ann Galloni. And they could follow me from there.
Amazing. And Denise and I do have that book coming out, Course
We do.
Corrected, which is going to be coming out September 4th. Please look out for communication on that on both of our social media so you can buy a copy, buy two copies, buy 10 copies, and give them out to groups where you think they might need a little bit of a ray of sunshine. And let's not forget that this show is brought to you by Black Oswald Coffee Company. You can go to blackoswaldcoffeeco.com, use the code all caps awesome15. Please order some coffee from them. I'm so grateful for their sponsorship. And also, what you can do is you can partner with them with your favorite nonprofit that benefits those experiencing mental health issues. And I am your host, Marta Saray Greca. I am a financial rep. I help families find hidden money in their lives that already exists, account for every dollar, and how to grow it and prosper it. And I do also own a communications brand, Whole Truth Communications, through which I create content for brands and marketing consulting. Until next time, everyone, thanks for joining us. Bye.